Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. And that Rocky just keeps going on and on and on. Woo! All right. Now, if Rocky doesn't get you pumped up, I will. All right.
Oh, boy. Somebody's had their Red Bull today.
I wish I did. But anyway, so each week we have the Ask Brien radio show, and we discuss something about business. We either have a business entrepreneur on, somebody who's starting a company, or somebody that's been around in business a lot, or somebody that can teach us something about business. But everyone always asks us, why is Brien spelled with an E, Brien? Because, although you might think I'm Irish, my name isn't O'Brien, and I don't have a pub down the street. But anyway, and I'm not making fun of anyone just because I laughed. I just thought it was funny. The reality is, Brien is spelled with an E, not I-A-N, not Y-A-N. I know when I went to school, that's how they did it. But also when I went to school, people used to work hard. They don't do anymore. Ooh, attack on the millennials. All right. That could be a movie, Attack on the Millennials. All right. So our engineer that begins with an E, Matt, is going to try to explain to our audience why Brien is spelled with an E. So give us one reason. Give us one reason.
Sure. Well, I mean, first of all, Peter, I am a millennial, so I kind of took that personally. But
all right.
I'm willing to overlook it.
I mean, I wasn't going to mention it, but I did think it was a little personal.
Just a little bit. Well, there are many reasons why we spell Ask Brien with an E. The first and foremost, E is for education, because we try to educate our listeners each week about businesses.
Well, and the other thing I want to point out is he's a New Yorker, and he's tough, and he can handle it, and he doesn't have a thin skin.
That's right. I'm walking here.
Oh, were you saying Southerners have thin skin? Now I'm taking this personally.
Do you want me to talk like an Alabamian? Because I can talk like an Alabamian,
No.
and then you're going to be like it. All right. So that
No,
took
I
care
do
of
not
that.
want you to do that, because real Southern accents are far better than faux Southern accents.
Well, carrying right along, E is also for experts, because our guests are experts in their field.
As well as our co-host.
That's right. Tracy's
That's
an
right.
expert.
So we have a lot of experts.
That's right.
Now, what is it? How do you become an expert? What does that mean? I mean, it's like,
Well, it's a time thing. It's a long and arduous trial to become an expert in your field, Peter.
Ooh, big word, artist.
Yeah, thank you. I
Artist,
brushed up on my SAT vocabulary this week just for your show. It takes about 10,000 hours to become an expert in your field. You need to be doing that thing for 10,000 hours. If you break it down over a year, 52 weeks, we'll cut it down to 50, give you 2 weeks for a little rest and relaxation. So 5 years times 2,000 hours per week is 10,000.
It's not 2,000 per week, but okay.
Sorry, 2,000 per year. 2,000 per year gives you 10,000. It takes about 5 years, in other words. But we've agreed on this. No entrepreneur is only working 40 hours in a week. They're working probably double that, if not triple.
Well, 40 is like on a side business, side hustle, right?
Yeah.
That'd be 40 hours, because you cannot build a business, okay, by working 40 hours a week.
Right.
It takes a
I
lot.
mean, we don't want to scare anybody, but that is quite factual.
E is also for experience, because experience counts.
And what does that mean?
I don't know. You wrote it.
Well, if you've been doing something for 10, you might be an expert, but if you've been doing something for 10 or 20 or 30 years, okay, you've probably had that issue come up. And the reality is, part of success is multiple of failures, right? So you can learn a lesson, part of the education process.
How about this? I'll give you an E. I'll give you an example here of experience and why it counts. I sit here at the board. I push all the buttons. I bring in the callers.
You push a lot of buttons.
I do.
Push my buttons
I'm a
sometimes.
button pusher. That's right. My mom
Push
said that
Tracy's
too.
button.
Right.
Even the guest. Go ahead.
If I were to sit, if I were to just sit here and watch someone else do it for 10,000 hours, yeah, I might be an expert in being able to explain it, but it doesn't mean I know how to actually do it. That's why experience counts. Getting in here and sitting in the chair and doing it, and that likens to anything. And
I like that. So you're able to analyze.
I don't know. Peter pushes my buttons all the time, and I don't.
But I strive to do that. That's my goal.
You achieve it.
E is also for enthusiasm. And Nicole, I hope you have your phone off your head, because it is being enthusiastic that leads to excellent
Excitement!
Yeah, I tried to warn you there, Nicole.
She's already deaf now.
Right,
Go ahead.
Right. Well, E is for excitement, as Peter put it so eloquently there. E is also for empathy, because being in someone else's shoes helps you to understand your audience, customers, and the products and services.
And you empathize by telling her to lower her microphone so that she wouldn't be blasted. So that was a good empathetic approach.
Oh, thank you, Peter. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yes.
I think the most important, though, E is for entrepreneur, because really all of our listeners and our guests are business owners.
And entrepreneurs. Which is basically starting a business mostly. Correct? Any other E's?
Well, we have one for engineer, but you covered that. That's me.
But we have Traci's favorite.
Oh,
my favorite E. I know it's been a while, but you can't forget about it because it is electrifying.
But he didn't say grease lightning.
Well, he didn't, but
typically you queue up Traci.
Any longer.
Well, she ran right into it, so it was like she didn't give me an opportunity.
Well, it was great, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to overstep here, and I'm going to bid you adieu, and that's your favorite word. Why is it your favorite word, Peter?
Because of all the letters, how many consonants are there?
Just one.
That's correct.
The rest are vowels.
And we like vowels. Just like we like our vegetables.
That's right.
Part of a nutritious meal. Mm-hmm. All right. So thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Always glad to have you on board. Now, if our guest hasn't said, what am I doing here? I'm calling Heather right away. I'm out of here. Goodbye. See ya.
I have to question this because I want to dial back because I'm a California transplant who lives in New Jersey, goes to New York all the time, and married a guy who emigrated from Ireland. So you hit a lot of things in the very beginning, which was quite awesome.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, just to let you know.
Well, welcome to the show.
Just to let you know, Matt and I grew up in New York on Long Island, okay, and we're transplants to California. So we did the opposite.
We did the opposite, indeed, and we're both a little nutty. So.
Well, yeah, but that comes with the territory. I mean, we went to law school. You got to be nutty to do that.
That's right. There must be something wrong with us, but there isn't.
Exactly. So anyway, you currently have a company, and what is the name of that company, Nicole?
Ivy Alexander.
And why is the name Ivy Alexander? What does that stand for?
Well, being Nicole Alexander, we kind of figure out that portion. But Ivy is named. Doesn't take a rocket scientist, but the first name is after my grandmother, who was named Ivy. And so I kind of wanted to honor her legacy and the legacy of other family members by starting this company.
Wow, because if I thought about that, I was thinking totally different. Ivy, like the Ivy League and the Harvard and everything, and since you're on the luxury side, that you're high-end. So that's where I thought the Ivy came from. So I was totally off base. And Alexander...
I might need to use that. That is good. I mean, I can add that to the story.
I think it's a good one.
We're just here to help. We're just here to help.
Come and work with me. Let's get this done.
Absolutely. So this company, what do they do? I know it has something to do with bag hooks, and unfortunately, I'm a guy and I don't have the purse, whatever. So you got to explain that to half the population here.
I'm happy to explain it. First of all, this is our first product, but we hope to aim to make other products next year and kind of expand the brand. That being said, we started out with bag hooks or purse hooks or whatever you want to call it, which is really the thing that you put on the side of a table. So your bag, it could be a backpack, it could be a satchel, it could be a purse, remains off the floor. Now, I decided to create this during the pandemic because I had been using different versions of it that were not very durable. And I kind of thought to myself, what if I made a better version that was a bit more elegant, a bit more luxe, capable of holding really heavy bags? Because really no one wants to put their purse or bag on the floor. It's totally disgusting. It's gross. And I think now we're kind of a little germ phobic. So it just seemed like the right time.
So is it that the hook can handle more strength? Is that it? What makes it
It's that too, yeah. I mean, it's part of physics. Like the heavier the bag, the more weight that's going to be put on the disc that adheres to the table. So that part is just physics, and because it's a stronger metal than your average one, and the inner mechanics of it are just a bit more sophisticated, they are just much more durable, and they're also very, very nice looking. They're pretty. They're something you want to, you put in a little pouch, you have it in your bag, you bring it out. They're great stocking stuffers. You can use it for, you could actually use it for Christmas stockings. So there's multiple uses. My husband has put beer on it before, so not like pouring beer, but like putting a 6-pack on there to see if it could withstand it, and it all worked out.
So is this like a metallic hook, magnetic, that you actually can stick to metal? I mean, how does that work? How do you put it?
There is magnets inside of the disc that will hold it together, but it's not magnetized. It's just all a matter of physics. So it just depends on the flat surface that you're using.
So if you use wood, it's not magnetic, right? There's no metal there, so
right.
But it would still work on a wood desk, correct?
Yeah, the magnets are really just to keep the hinges together.
And so give me one or two competitors of yours.
Honestly, I think there are a slew of them that are on Amazon, but they're selling them for like $10, $12, and they're made in warehouses, and they don't have any identifiable brand. This is the first identifiable brand to this product.
And when did you start the company?
A little over a year ago.
And how can people purchase the product?
Well, we're starting to sell in boutiques around the country, primarily now New Jersey, in addition to going straight to the website, ivy-alexander.com. They're great gifts for Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Easter. Throw them all out there. It's a great gift idea, and they're nice and portable and strong and sleek.
And how did you get into this business? I mean, I know you started it a year ago, but how did you decide, okay, I'm going to do this? Give me some of your story.
Yeah, unfortunately, I lost a number of family members, my grandmother included, in a short period of time, and I was traveling back and forth to California to take care of my mom. And after she passed, I was doing an estate sale, and I found a box that my dad had. And on the outside of the box, it said, Nick's Box of Broken Dreams. And inside the box, there were architectural drawings that had never been built. There are buildings that had never been built, books that hadn't been published, things that were patented but had not been made. And I was like, it kind of like, I don't want to be a total downer on the call, but it was very... it hit me in the gut, and it made me believe that I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have a box of broken dreams, that I wanted to pursue an idea, and if I had that idea, to take it forward. And so because every time I used one of these different versions out and about, and people were coming up to me asking me about it because they didn't know about it, the light bulb went out in me, and I said, you know what? What if we made a better version, and what if we marketed it so that people actually knew that they existed? Because you're not alone, Brian, not knowing that they're around, or Peter, of course. But, not a lot of people know the existence of these. So if you market it better, you communicate to the public, people will know they can buy a quality product. And not only that, you limit your risk of theft, too, because a lot of times you go to these restaurants and people put their bags on their chair, and it happened to me. I had a wallet stolen, and I'm sitting right there because people can just put their hands in the bag and take it away, or just take the bag away on their own. So it's not only anti-germ, it's anti-theft.
Wow. Now, prior to that, though, prior to coming to California, my understanding is you were an attorney. How long did you do that for?
I practiced for about 9-10 years, litigating, trying cases, and then I switched roles at my firm to handle more administration, which I like very much because it was a bit more creative. I did like practicing law, but it can be so adversarial that sometimes it can suck the life out of you. So I just kind of changed paths.
And then, so you went directly from law directly to the dream box to creating this item, or was it something in between?
Well, I'm still working in a managerial capacity at my current law firm. So, but the thing is happening, and I'm noticing in a lot of people that are starting businesses, at some point something's going to give. And I'm noticing that I want to spend more time on Ivy Alexander and, really get it to make more products and get the word out there. So it's been a juggling challenge, but very interesting, and I'm learning so much.
So now you have this concept, and everybody has a concept, just like your relative who had that dream box, right? But taking the dream box and making reality is a big difference, right? So I'm trying to explain to the listeners, and maybe you can help them out. I mean, obviously, even though you have this concept in your head, making it reality took a lot. So first of all, I imagine that you had to find somebody to manufacture it for you, or you had to find a company out there that would allow you to put your brand on. Is that how it worked, or can you explain that?
It was very, very synergistic, and that's why I thought immediately everything was going to take off, because it happened fairly easily. And it's all through connections, and I cannot tell people enough how important it is to foster the connections that you make and make the connections in the beginning. A friend of mine, her husband worked for a manufacturing facility. I met with members of that facility who had created similar type of buckles and other things for other luxury brands. So they were well equipped to take this on and have their engineers make a better version. And then the wife of another colleague of mine handled the branding and the website. We worked on the e-commerce. The photographers, I came through connections. So every single level of personal connection I had made in my history really, really helped develop and enabled me to start the company and get it off the ground. Because as lawyers, we learn how to think differently, but we don't know how to start a business from the ground up. So it has completely been a learning experience, but I love it. It's been so fun, and even if you screw up or you're not understanding something, you just get back up and you find a better way and a better solution, and before you know, you have a company. So
you started about a year ago. How long did it take you before you were able to get the product to market?
Well, the market happened about a little over a year ago. I started the process in January of 2021, and we went to market at the end of October of that year.
Well, that's a very, very lightning fast 10 months to be able to go from concept into that. Now, you have a company that's making the product for you, and you're slapping the name on it? Is that it? We're
putting the branding on it, yes.
And to sell it, you're using e-commerce?
E-commerce. We've started to sell in boutiques, too, as well. And the last month, we've been really hustling at local markets, holiday markets, that really target the type of audience that, would desire to have one of these things to keep their beloved items safe. And it's been interesting because, God, before going to college, I remember working in retail, and now I'm working in retail again, and it's really wild.
Well, and brick and mortar has taken quite a difference in the last 25 years. So, that's really big. Now, for pricing, how did you determine how to figure out what good price would be for that product? You don't need to tell me the price. I'm just trying to figure out.
No, we had to ask around. I asked my friends and colleagues what they'd be willing to spend, and we took a look also, obviously, at the price points of what it took to manufacture. In addition to which, we have a lot of packaging involved because we want it to be a luxurious experience. So you get a box, you open it up, there's crinkle paper, there's a beautiful bag that's luxurious with ribbons and the branding on it, and then there's writings about the company, and there's more tissue, and there's stickers, it's the whole thing, so that, people not only get this purse hook, but they have the opportunity to experience the opportunity of opening something and valuing it. So putting those price points together helped us to try to come to a conclusion, and also taking a survey of our friends and family, what would be a reasonable cost such that we would make some type of profit. And I think that's the part that people don't understand. It's not just the cost of production. It's the cost of marketing. It's the cost of the packaging. It's the cost of social media advice. I mean, there's so many levels that weigh into getting that off the ground. And, people are willing to pay a little bit more for something that's nice and that something will last.
So if we have about 20 seconds before we're going to take a break, but I call this, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but I call it like the Tiffany experience, right? People get that little blue box. It kind of means something. So that's the way,
Yes.
you know,
100%.
that's what I call it. So we're going to be taking a break. We're going to be right back. You're listening to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM every Thursday Ask Brien radio show. All right. Well, we have a great guest today, Nicole, and as we do every week, we pivot to Traci. Traci, what are you going to pivot on?
Oh, I'm going to pivot on something really purposeful this time, and I'm very excited to ask you about this because on your website is gorgeous, by the way. Your branding is beautiful. It's so on point with a luxury brand, and I know that, image is everything. And one of the things that I noticed when I was looking at your site before the show was that your tagline is luxury with a purpose, and that is so beautiful. And as I understand it, it's tied into the Ivy Alexander Foundation. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So I've spent many years volunteering for a number of causes and sitting on a number of boards, and I still do that because it's very near and dear to my heart. But the thought of having something that we could, as a company, contribute to was like a dream come true. And so we formed the foundation, the Ivy Alexander Foundation, to which proceeds from the sales go to. And then that foundation supports organizations that foster equity for women and girls. And even though we're a young company, we've been able to make contributions to various causes and get the word out there because in my life, I've been given so many wonderful opportunities by working with organizations like this. And it's not just a donation of money. It's also organizations that foster the professional development of women and girls. And it's really crucial. It's really critical. And not everybody has that opportunity. So to be in a position to have this, it just gives you warm fuzzies, particularly around the holidays. But this is a year-round mission, so to speak.
And out of curiosity, from a marketing perspective, let's say if I was to purchase one of the products for a holiday gift, would the person who was the recipient of the gift, would they have an indication that it was also supporting the foundation? Do you tie that into your marketing?
It is in our marketing, but they wouldn't get an email notification that this is what's going on. I think on a grand scale, we would probably emulate some of the other great places out there that companies that have foundations that are then, giving back, and not only giving back by virtue of giving to organizations, and I'm referring to Tory Burch because I think her model is absolutely outstanding, but providing education themselves as a foundations, whether it's blogs, whether it's podcasts, that's a bigger, grander scale. So people do know because we do note it, and we also have cards indicating in each purchase that the proceeds go to the Ivy Alexander Foundation. But I think in the next year or so, as we've been really been able to propel ourselves this year, so far has been a great year. I say this year has been a great year. I'm talking about November and December. It's been really great so far as the selling year. I think we're going to be really jettisoned to get the word out there even more.
Well, and every brand has a great story, and you've done a beautiful job of telling the story of your muse. I'd love if you could share a little bit more about your grandmother and how she was an influencer for you, because from what I can tell, it sounds like she just was a fabulous woman.
She really was. I'm like all of a sudden getting like teary-eyed talking about it, but she was beautiful inside and out, crazy intelligent, deep British accent. She emigrated from England over here. She had children, and she worked. Now, back in the day, that was completely frowned upon on every level, and I know how difficult it is for my friends now who are trying to juggle both being a mom and working, and I can't even imagine how much more difficult it was back then, but she did it. And she was absolutely elegant and, most importantly, kind. So that kind of fits back into the whole idea of the foundation. She also made a mean cup of tea, and wore bright pink lipstick, which I like to do myself, until she passed away. She just had this wonderful spirit. So it just was really important to me to honor her, and frankly to honor my mom as well, who was really a force of nature, and I think gave me the inspiration to start the products.
And then when you were talking about the work-life balance and the all the responsibilities that women can and do have to carry, share with us some of the ways that you manage work-life balance, because from what it sounds like, you're still working at the law firm, you've launched this business, you're married. What are some of the things that you do as an entrepreneur and a woman in the workforce to balance all of the things that you have going on?
I think you need to surround yourself with very organized people. Candidly, sometimes my desk looks like the Bermuda Triangle, like it's scary, and things get lost. So I've learned to know the areas in which I am not an expert, and to surround myself with people who are experts in that regard. I've also thought about breathing. That sounds silly, but we get so flustered, particularly this time of year. We're running from an event. We're doing this. We're trying to shop for people. We're trying to make sure everybody's happy, and we're not thinking about ourselves. So I think a little self-care is truly important, and in that function, taking a time to breathe, live in the moment, ask yourself, am I getting joy out of this season, or I'm just going through the moments to get through it? And that helps. But from a time perspective, this time of year I'm not getting a lot of sleep, and that's fine. I'm happy that I'm busy. I think I make a lot of lists as well, just to keep even if my desk isn't organized, my head will be, and I will know what's going on. And be patient. And again, I think surrounding yourself with really wonderful people is the ultimate thing to do for yourself and for your business. But you also have to take care of those people and make sure they know they're such a valued resource to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's incredibly important. So in talking through your growth strategy, what are some of the things that you're doing to have the brand stand out? And are you using social media? Are you using digital marketing? I mean, bringing a new product to market, it has to get a good brand awareness. What are some of the things that you're doing to make Ivy Alexander stand out in the marketplace?
That is a great question, and I think right now everybody knows that social media is king. We do have a blog associated with the website that people can check from time to time, and sometimes it's goofy and sometimes it's sentimental, and Lord knows. But we are on Instagram every day. We're advertising at the markets where we have been selling. We are repurposing content. We are on Facebook as well. I'm putting stuff on LinkedIn. I'm encouraging my friends to do so. And we have this actually little strategy where we're encouraging people who buy the purse hooks to take pictures, post it on our Instagram where they are. So we've been all over the world based upon the pictures that have been from Italy to Mexico, throughout the United States, for people using their purse hooks because they're proud to be using them, and then we see the people that are using them, and it's like they're proud to be. They're proud to be marketing the product that they purchased from us, and I think that says a lot.
We're going to take a break for our sponsor. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Stephanie, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Brian.
All right. So everybody wants to know two concepts. First, what is Twisted Noodles and what do they do?
So Twisted Noodles is the best wheat-based ramen, probably made in Belfouche, South Dakota. And what do they do? That's an interesting question. They definitely fill you up and leave you wanting for more.
And where can people buy these items?
You can find Twisted Noodles in select Target stores across the U.S., as well as a few Walmart Canada stores.
Wow, that's excellent. And how long have you been doing that?
A few years now. So it's been really exciting. We're quickly growing and expanding, and we're really proud of what the ramen noodles that we've made.
Super. And then there's another company that's also sponsoring us. It's called Legal Steps. And people don't know what that is. There's another attorney involved here, and they also don't understand. It's like, are these the steps that you use to climb the courthouse at the Supreme Court? You know, when they show you the picture, is that what's Legal Steps? What is Legal Steps?
Good question. So Legal Steps is a do-it-yourself system to handle any legal issues like forming a business in California or even registering for a federal trademark. And it saves you thousands of dollars, and it really empowers entrepreneurs. It basically makes legal easy, which is the best part.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And so that's Legal Steps. Now, Twisted Noodles, that's what, an Albany Farms company? Is that it?
Yes, so Twisted Noodles is manufactured by a company called Albany Farms, and Twisted Noodle is their brand of ramen.
Well, super. Thank you very much. That was very informative. We're glad to have you as a sponsor, and we're going to go back to the Ask Brien show. Thanks a lot, Steph. Till next week.
You're welcome. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks. You're back to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Traci, do you have any more questions?
It's really, I find it really difficult to follow you today because you're so enthusiastic. I guess
Woohoo!
because I'm a little under the weather, so my energy with an E is a little low today. So I'm glad you're carrying the torch with the enthusiasm.
No problemas.
Yes. So I would kind of continuing that conversation around the growth aspect of the business. Tell us about some of the new products that you have either in vision phase or in production phase.
Well, we're in production with creating another longer hook that will fit on areas like bars or when you go wine tasting in Napa, or areas that the hooks might not necessarily fit because the lip of the table or the bar is too wide. So that's the first one. And we will be the first purse hook out there to do that, which will be very interesting to do. Now, the other thing is completely, and I'm going to use your word, pivot, and add another accessory to the brand, which I'm excited about because I'd like to create cufflinks for women and men.
Wow.
Fashion is coming back. And it's coming back hard because people they love their yoga pants, don't get me wrong, and sweatpants, but at some point they want to get out and get dressed and feel, a little Gatsby-esque. So I thought that the concept of cufflinks really made sense. And, for women, you can't really find them. And for the executive that's going out there, why not be able to take it like a Pandora accessory and make it your own with a cufflink? So it's a jewelry idea that I think the concept has been really strong. So we're in the beginning process of putting that out.
Well, and I noticed your products have your logo branded into the circle. Are you thinking about the cufflinks being that sort of still continuing with that same round medallion and having the logo embossed into the cufflink?
I am thinking about anything from Eiffel Towers to skull and crossbones to things that are really different and that have not been seen before in the market. They still will probably have the brand on it in some fashion, but it won't be like the discs. This is just going to be completely different. So it's going to be more creative, an avenue for people to express themselves, and I think it's kind of exciting to get that done. So we'll start with a couple and see how they do and go forward. But, you mentioned something about the purse hooks. I have named each one of them after a loved one. So the Madison is my niece, the Lauren is my other niece, the Grace is my stepdaughter, the Olivia is my stepdaughter, and the Chloe is the 7-year-old daughter of my best friend from law school. So I think when you identify a name with a product, it really has a value, and people feel that they can understand it and sympathize, not sympathize, but understand and want to work with that and feel like it's a little bit more meaningful than something that's just blank or blah.
Right, it has that personal appeal to it, absolutely. And that's so funny because I was going to ask you about the story behind Chloe, Madison, Lauren, Grace, Olivia, because they're all such beautiful classic names, and I didn't know if that was tied into the English heritage with your grandmother or because they're all such beautiful classic names.
Thank you. Yeah, you beat me to it, or I beat you to it just by virtue of just wanting to bring it up. But I do love the names. I think they're great. And we'll continue that on, though. I want to continue naming things after loved ones, although it's going to get competitive over people wanting, like, how come you haven't named anything after me? It's starting. We'll see how it goes. But I just think it gives it a little bit more of a personal appeal and to go from there. And they're all, part of our social media campaign is placing pictures of the people with the hooks so they can identify and see the person behind the name. And I just think it makes it, like you said before, more personal.
Well, if you run out of names, you can always use Brien.
With an E.
But you have to spell it with an E. And then people, because, I don't know, you could definitely name the cufflinks, and then the very first set of masculine cufflinks to be the Brians.
I might get in trouble with that because my husband is known as John, but in Ireland he's Sean. It's a weird thing they do over there. They'll give you a name and then they'll call you something else.
Well, that's kind of like this show, Peter, but it's called Brian, but we call him Peter. But John, Sean, Peter, Brian.
There are other names too, but we don't want to get into those, especially with an FCC broadcast.
Those aren't FCC regulated names, so we're not going to go into those. But
it's a family show.
Supposedly.
Well, one of the things that we really like to ask our entrepreneurs when we're talking to them on the Ask Brien show is, what was one of the biggest challenges you faced that you weren't expecting?
I was naive in thinking that once we went live in late October of last year, that the orders were going to come in fast and furious. It was like somebody's going to see it, and right away it's done. And it requires a bit more than that I've learned. And I think it's really important to have good marketing, good PR. Again, we've amped up our social media because people aren't going to find out about it. And you also have to really get out there. And, like, I'll be at a restaurant, I'll use a hook, somebody likes it, I'll give one to them and say, here, say something about it on social media. It's in person, and it's marketing, and it just requires word of mouth, too. And before you know it, you start to get the momentum that you need. It just doesn't happen immediately. It's great that you have, and we were very proud of our website, but you can have that and have it out there. But unless people know about it, nothing's going to happen.
Well, for the website, we usually say the Field of Dreams, the movie Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. But, you got to have something a little bit more than that.
Yes, exactly. And I think we've had such a great November and December. We're thrilled about the reaction we've had thus far, and we think we're only just begun.
Well, so we're going to be taking a break. We'll be right back. You're listening to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM, the Ask Brien Radio Show. Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM, the Ask Brien Radio Show. Traci, are you there?
I am here, and I am here and excited because of this time of year especially to ask, how can people get in touch with you, but even more importantly, or maybe not, how can people purchase these amazing Ivy Alexander purse holders during this holiday season?
Well, you can definitely go to our website, which is ivy-alexander.com. You can follow us at Instagram, which is Ivy Alexander New York, and also the same on Facebook, because we are getting kind of funny and goofy with our posts, but we like them because, again, it brings a certain personal tone to it, and we want to advertise the people who are using it. So we want to put a spotlight on those who are using the concept and like it, and then that will enable us to put out more products. So go to the site, and I am happy to offer, for all of you listeners out there, a discount tomorrow for 10% off if you put the code Brien with an E.
Oh, that's so great. Wow, that's fantastic. And just going to say that again. So if the discount code is Brien with an E, Brien. And for those of you who might be in traffic right now and driving as you're listening to the Ask Brien radio show, don't forget, you can go and listen to the podcast version of this. We'll put the code in the show notes and the website and link it for you so that you can just click on directly and purchase it straight from the show notes. And you can find the Ask Brien podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google. And we would love it if you love the radio show and the podcast as much as we do to leave us one of those fantastic 5-star reviews. And we may even read it on the air. So you've been amazing. Thank you. Peter, do you have any other questions?
Of course I do. Thank you very much, Traci.
Thank you.
You're asking a lawyer if he has any questions. Okay.
Two lawyers. I should just step out right now.
I object to that.
Well, especially when I ask the question, you're going to object. So.
Oh, boy, counselor. Yes.
You already talked about challenges, but what I want to know is try to go over something that was very difficult and one of your biggest difficulties in your success, and then how you overcame that.
I think fear. I think particularly when you're somewhat of a type A personality, you want to project success on what kind of projects you're doing. And, you say, I'm going to go to law school, I'm going to be a lawyer, I will do fine, I will make a salary, and this and this and this. But when you're jumping off a cliff and starting a business that you are learning about as you start the business, there is a great amount of fear. And I think taking the risk requires some education, which I did. It requires the connectivity, which I did, and in spades it came back to me. It was so great. So be kind to your business colleagues, even if they're in different industries, because you never know where that's going to come back to help you. And I took the risk because, I didn't want to be part of a box of broken dreams. I took an educated risk. So it wasn't just like going to Vegas and betting on black. It was something that was much more planned and understood, and I believed in myself, which is, right now a lot of people have imposter syndrome. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and starting this has only empowered me rather than given me some fear, and I'm so thankful for that.
So we have about a minute and a half left, so I want to know, you told me when you started the company, you went online in October, and you thought that, okay, sales are going to come in, and they didn't. What did you do? What did you do, and what can people learn from that was able to get you to the success level you're at now? You have about a minute.
Well, I think they came right away at first, but then they dwindled off. I think you have to be really mindful if you're in the retail space of holidays, and you have to get out weeks in advance. Right now we're working on our plan for Valentine's Day, as I said before, Mother's Day. You have to have targeted social media and other advertising toward these holidays if you're in the retail space.
And by retail, are you including online exclusively or just brick and mortar?
Both. I mean, online, of course, is taking off like crazy, and it's helpful in that realm. But we're selling to other boutiques, so I think it really matters for both.
So we have about 30 seconds left, and we're not even, according to my engineer. What's the biggest thing that you think is going to happen for your company in the next year? You got about 15 seconds.
We are going to be selling 5 or 6 more additional type of products, and we're going to be donating a lot to charity.
Wow, that's great. Thank you very much. You've been a great guest, Nicole. Thank you, Traci.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas to all. And you've been listening to KHTS 1220, 98.1 FM. Roger and out!